everybody, in today's video I am talking about the 7 biggest housing myths in Arizona debunked, and I am reviewing an article that I found in one of my favorite websites, Arizona Big Media. I am going to put a link to that article in the description below so you can check it out for the full details if you'd like, but I want to warn you that originally this article was written about Phoenix, but I felt that it did apply to the entire state of Arizona, so I am adapting it and I'm going to add a little bit of information based on my own experiences of selling in northern Arizona to make it more applicable to the entire state. My name is Dawn Dickinson. The channel is Living in Northern Arizona, where I'll teach you everything there is about living in the northern half of the state of Arizona. I am a licensed real estate agent, so if you ever have a question about buying or selling a home in Arizona, my contact information is always in the description below, and if you reach out, I will get back to you. Okay, let's get started. It's saying if you are interested in buying a home in Arizona, there's a lot of confusion that's been going on recently, and I do know that's true. I actually am in the real estate industry. I work full-time as a real estate agent, and a lot of the information that goes around is confusing to me. So I can imagine if you are just thinking of buying a house, it can be very confusing. There's a lot of chatter about market trends. Oh, the market's going to crash. Oh no, it's going to go up. So let's just review some of the myths that might make you feel a little bit more comfortable if you're thinking about buying a home. First thing I would like to say is it's very difficult to time the market and buy at the perfect time. So what I always recommend is if you need to buy a house or if you need to sell a house, that's when you should be looking, because otherwise you're just going to wait forever and you may not ever buy something, and that of course would just not be the optimal situation. Okay, let's start with myth number 1, which says that buyer demand is dropping. The author of this article is saying that that is not happening in Phoenix, and I agree. It's not happening in the entire state of Arizona either, especially in northern Arizona, where I am primarily selling homes. This might have been true, or actually this was true in 2022 and 2023, and what happened then is we had such great buyer demand because mortgage rates were below 3%. So a lot of people were in a flurry to buy houses. You had investors in addition to people who were looking to buy a home, and so the market was crazy prior to 2022, and in 2022 is when we had the big market correction. So prices did dip a little bit in 2022. Demand kind of stopped because interest rates went from about 2.8% to about 5% in a very short time span. So the demand kind of dropped, but there still is quite a bit of home demand in the state of Arizona. I'm still seeing that here in northern Arizona, where I work primarily, and I also think that if the mortgage rates do go down, that the buyer demand is going to start increasing again, and that means home prices could go up. So if you're waiting for mortgage rates to go down, or if you're thinking that the buyer demand is going down, that may not happen and you might be disappointed. So there's definitely demand in Phoenix, and more so I believe in northern Arizona. So now there's something else I want to talk to you about, demand and supply. Now you might see a lot of agents on YouTube like, oh my gosh, there's so much housing inventory. Oh my gosh, I've never seen so much. But when I think back, I got my real estate license in 2016, and I was living in Phoenix at the time. So I was a brand new agent, and I had gone to my weekly broker meetings, and we pull up the Arizona Regional MLS, and the number immediately pops up with the amount of inventory that's active for sale. And in 2016, it was about 25,000. And my broker would say, wow, that's not a lot of inventory. It's mostly Maricopa County, not a lot of inventory. So fast forward today, I just opened it this morning. Arizona Armless said there were 27,000, just over 27,000 active homes on the market. And I'm thinking, wow, everybody's saying that's so much inventory. It's not that much. In fact, it's only about 8% more than it was in 2016 when I first got my license. And if you look at the population statistics, in 2016, Maricopa County had 4.258 million. And the last statistic I found on population in Maricopa County was 2023, 4.586 million, which is up 8%. So if you got housing inventory up 8% and population growth up 8%, and in reality, that is a 2023 number. Population in 2025 is probably up 10% since 2016. So you have not that disproportionate of inventory today in 2016, and definitely in 2016, people weren't crying about the overstock of population in Maricopa County. I'm not even going to look at the other areas. I'm just going to look at Armless for that particular statistic, because that's what I remember happening when I was a brand new spanking agent back in 2016. So really, the demand is not dropping, and there is a lot of pent-up demand. People that are still sitting, waiting, hoping prices are going to fall, or hoping mortgage rates are going to fall. So even though there's still quite a bit of activity going on. Now I'm going to give you a couple of other statistics before I move to the next myth. Again, when they're talking about the market crashing or homes being overpriced, I looked up a couple of more statistics, and I am looking at the Market Action Index, which says is it a seller's market, a buyer's market, and the Market Action Index in Phoenix right now is 40. Now 30 is a balanced market, and 40 means we still have a slight advantage for a seller. And I look in Flagstaff, the Market Action Index is 38. So 38, again, still a little bit of a seller's market. So don't let anybody fool you saying that the market has crashed, because it really is still a slight seller's advantage in the housing market in the major areas of Arizona. Okay, myth number 2 says there's nothing to buy under $300,000. Now, this author is looking in Phoenix primarily, and he said in February 2022 there were only 90 single-family homes under $300,000 available in all of Maricopa County and some of Pinell counties. But if you look today, there are 500 homes. Most of those are in Pinell County, so that's going to be way far on the outskirts of town. But that was saying that, you know, there are more houses available under $300,000, and especially if you look at condos and townhouses. So I'm going to say where I work, which is primarily Yavapai County and Coconino County, very difficult to get a single family home under $300,000 unless you go far on the outskirts of town, like possibly Winslow or Williams. In the areas that I work primarily, which is Sedona, Verde Valley, and Flagstaff, and even Prescott Valley, will be difficult to find a single family home under $300,000 unless there's a lot of work to be done, but you might be able to get a very nice manufactured home on land, or possibly a townhouse or a condo. Now I'm going to tell you, in Sedona, which is where I live, you won't find anything under $300,000 except for a manufactured home in a park where you have a land lease. Probably going to be very similar in Flagstaff. You might get a 1-bed, 1-bath condo for $300,000, and I think there was recently a 1-bed, 1-bath condo in Sedona for about $305,000. You won't even get a manufactured home on land in Sedona for under $300,000, but possibly you could find, like I say, a very nice manufactured home or a townhouse in Cottonwood, Camp Verde, or Cornville, and maybe even something in Flagstaff. But again, very difficult to get a single family under $300,000 in northern Arizona unless you are in one of the, far outskirts of town, villages like I was saying, Winslow, or maybe Happy Jack. I don't know. I don't go out there very much. So, but it is possible in the Phoenix metro area to get a home at that price. So, myth number 3 and number 4 are related to mortgages and home buyers assistance. So I'm going to tell you that I am not an expert in this area. I refer those types of questions to my lending partners, but I have some very good experienced lending partners that if you have these types of questions, I could certainly refer you to them. Myth number 3 is that my income is too high for home buyers assistance, and the author of this article is saying that many of the home buyers assistance programs are based on location and not just the income, and that there might be programs up there where if you have income of $150,000, you could still get some homebuyer assistance if you are looking in maybe more of the rural areas. And the myth number 4 is that homebuyer assistance is only for first-time homebuyers, and that might not be true. Also, that while most of the programs are designed for first-time homebuyers, there are some situations where repeat buyers could qualify for this type of assistance, especially if you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years, or if you're getting divorced, or if you only had a mobile home before. So there are some programs that would help you. And if you are interested in finding out more, certainly give me a call or a text or an email, and I will connect you up with one of my really good loan partners who could answer all of these questions for you. Now, myth number 5 is regarding mortgage rates, and it's saying that some people think that the mortgage rates are just too high and you can't compete and there's nothing you can do to tackle this program. And I'm saying that is definitely not the case. There are many strategies that you could use to work around this, and a lot of them are going to be asking the sellers for some concessions to put down for your closing costs or to buy down your mortgage rate. In fact, I just closed a deal in Flagstaff about 2 weeks ago where the seller gave the buyer 3% of the purchase price to put towards closing costs and buying down the mortgage rate. So that's probably your best option, but there are some workarounds on the high mortgage rates. And when you say high, I kind of laugh because my first mortgage in the 1980s was 8.5%, and at the time that's why we bought the house, because the rates had just dropped. They had been as high as 12-13%. So right now I don't want to give you any quotes because, again, I don't know when you're watching this what the rate will be, but I'm seeing rates in the 6s. So really not horrible, but you can also ask the seller to give you a little bit of assistance in buying down the rate if that's an issue for you. Okay, myth number 6. This is the biggest thing that impacts my buyers, that a lot of people call me and they're like, well, I'd buy now, but I know the market's going to crash, and if I wait a year, I'll get it for much less. That is certainly a myth. If you are waiting for a dramatic drop in prices, you're probably going to be disappointed. The biggest correction in Arizona happened in 2022, where it corrected a little bit, and it still wasn't huge. And right now, prices have just been holding steady and maybe increasing a little bit. I don't see any reason why the prices are going to drop, because there's still a little bit of an inventory shortage, and it's supply and demand that dictates the price of homes. So I wouldn't be counting on waiting for prices to drop. Now, again, I could be wrong, or something big could happen that could change the market, but it's not really looking like that's going to happen. And if you're waiting for that to happen, you could be sad. You could miss out one of a good window to buy a home. And again, I say you should be buying a home when you need to buy a home, or when you want to move because your circumstances changes, and not trying to time out the market, because it's very difficult to time out the market. So myth number 7 is saying that selling your house or putting your house up as is at a low price and offering some incentives is going to work and be an effective strategy. Again, the author of this article says that only works if your home is already in excellent condition, and offering incentives like concessions or something may not work at all. And in fact, if your home is in very bad shape, offering mortgage incentives won't work at all, because it might not be eligible for financing if there's something big. Now, I am definitely against advertising your house to be sold as is. I know other people don't agree with me, but first of all, just because you say it's as is doesn't mean it's as is. And I have a deal I did maybe a year ago where they kept saying it's as is, as is. Well, you've got this thing called the due diligence period, which is where you do inspections on the home. And if you find something bad, you can still, even if it says as is, you can ask for either a correction or a credit to repair that item. And the seller may be like, well, I didn't want to fix anything, but rather than let this deal go, I'm going to offer, a $2,500 credit so that the seller can repair it. So I don't think the as-is sale is a very effective way to market your property. Now, what you can do is have your agent write in the private remarks, that this is an inherited home, for example, and the sellers aren't able to do much in the way of fixing, so that it kind of lets the buyer's agent know, don't expect a whole lot. But I don't really think the as-is a very effective strategy for selling a home. In fact, it can scare a lot of buyers away, and it can attract the investor buyers who are often going to low ball and give you a very low offer. So I don't really think that is a very effective strategy, and either does the author to this article. So again, very interesting article. I am putting the link in the description below. I hope hope you found it informative, and if you did, please do me a favor and hit the like button on the video. That helps other people find the video. And also, if you subscribe to the channel, I post videos every single week about buying and selling property in Arizona, and especially Northern Arizona. Now, my name is Dawn Dickinson. I am a licensed real estate agent in the state of Arizona. I sell primarily in Sedona Verde Valley, but also Flagstaff, Prescott Valley, occasionally Phoenix, and I do have a lot of referral partners in the state that if you're not sure if I cover the area, I could refer you to a good agent. So if you ever have a question about buying or selling a home in Arizona, please reach out to me. My contact information is always in the description below, and I will get back to you. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you back here on the channel again next week.